Have you ever failed so badly that it made you question everything about yourself? Maybe you took a risk, put your heart into something, gave it your all, and still things didn't go as planned. That pain, that sinking feeling in your chest, the silence that follows a setback, it's real. It can feel like the world is closing in on you. But what if I told you that failure isn't the end? What if, in fact, failure is the beginning of something extraordinary? Failure is not your enemy. It's your mentor in disguise. And once you stop running from it, once you start leaning in and listening to what it has to teach you, your entire perspective shifts. You begin to see failure not as something shameful or final, but as a powerful force that sculpts you, that challenges you to grow, that pushes you closer to who you're meant to be. You begin to understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It is a part of success, a necessary part. When we fail, it forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. It makes us pause and reflect. It interrupts our ego and says, "Here is where you got it wrong. Here is what you didn't see. Now, what will you do about it?" That moment, when everything seems to fall apart, is where the real work begins. And ironically, it's where the real success story begins too. Because failure forces you to get honest. It pushes you to dig deep. It strips away illusions and distractions. You suddenly see your weaknesses, but you also glimpse your hidden strengths. The parts of you that are still standing, still breathing, still willing to try again. That willingness to get up, to keep going despite everything. That's resilience. And you don't develop resilience by winning all the time. You build it by failing, by falling, by crawling your way forward in the dark. Every time you fall and choose not to stay down, you become stronger. You become more you. Some of the most brilliant minds, the most accomplished people you know, built their greatness on a mountain of failure. Thomas Edison tried thousands of times before he invented the light bulb. He once said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." Those failures weren't wasted effort. They were stepping stones. Each misstep brought him closer to the one idea that would light up the world. And he's not alone. Oprah Winfrey was told she wasn't fit for television. Steve Jobs was fired from his own company. J.K. Rowling was a single mother living on welfare, rejected by publisher after publisher. But they didn't let failure stop them. They let it shape them. They listened to what it had to say. They used it as fuel. Failure teaches us to think differently. When your plans don't work out, you're forced to innovate. You're pushed out of your comfort zone. You have to get creative, try something new, take a route you would have never considered otherwise. And that's where real growth happens. Not in comfort, but in the chaos of uncertainty. Failure also humbles you. Success can inflate the ego, make you think you have all the answers. But failure brings you back to earth. It reminds you that you're human, that you don't know everything, that you still have room to grow. And that realization, though painful, is beautiful. It makes you more open, more willing to listen, more curious, more compassionate. You become less obsessed with being right and more committed to getting better. You stop pretending you have it all together, and you start learning. That's when progress really begins. Humility is not weakness. It's strength rooted in self-awareness, and failure is one of the fastest ways to develop it. When you've failed, truly failed, something else begins to shift. You start to see others differently. You recognize their struggles. You understand the pain in their voice. You no longer see people as competitors or obstacles, but as fellow travelers on a difficult path. That empathy, born from your own brokenness, is a powerful gift. It makes you kinder, more generous, more supportive. You stop judging others for falling, because you know what it feels like to hit the ground. And with that humility and empathy comes a deeper connection, not just to others, but to yourself. You start to shed the layers of who you thought you had to be. You stop chasing validation, and you start chasing purpose. Failure, ironically, brings clarity. It makes you ask hard questions. Why am I doing this? Who am I doing it for? Does this path still matter to me? Sometimes failure doesn't mean you were wrong. It means you've outgrown the path you were on. It's a sign that it's time to pivot, to evolve, to realign with your true values. Maybe the dream you failed at wasn't yours to begin with. Maybe it was someone else's expectation. Maybe it was based on an old version of you that no longer exists. And maybe, just maybe, that failure is life's way of gently, or not so gently, guiding you towards something better. Something more you. Failure can be loud and devastating, or quiet and subtle. Sometimes it looks like a public collapse. Sometimes it's a quiet disappointment no one else sees. But either way, it leaves a mark. And in that mark, there's wisdom, a lesson, a new path. And what about persistence? What about the fire inside you that refuses to go out? That part of you is born in failure too. It's easy to keep going when things are working. But when you've failed, when the wind is knocked out of you and no one is cheering, that's when persistence is tested. That's when you prove to yourself what you're really made of. Failure reveals your commitment. It asks, how badly do you want this? Are you willing to try again, even if it hurts? Even if there are no guarantees? If the answer is yes, then you've already succeeded in the most important way. Because the people who achieve great things are not the ones who never fail. They're the ones who never stop. They take the hits, they keep moving, they adapt, they grow. And speaking of adaptation, failure teaches you that too. When things fall apart, you have no choice but to change, to evolve, to find a new way. And that adaptability, that ability to shift and stay fluid, is a superpower in today's world. Life is unpredictable. Markets change, people change, you change. And if you're rigid, you break. But if you've learned to bend, to flex, to reimagine, then you're unstoppable. Failure also reveals what you truly care about. If you fail at something and feel relief, maybe it wasn't your calling. But if you fail and still ache to try again, then that pain is pointing you toward your purpose. Sometimes the only way to know how much something matters to you is to lose it. That fire in your gut after a setback, that's passion, that's purpose, that's real. And then, of course, there's the bigger picture. Failure doesn't just make you stronger, it makes your story stronger. It gives your journey depth. Without struggle, your success is shallow. But when you faced darkness and kept walking, your light shines brighter. One day, someone will hear your story and find hope. Not because you were perfect, but because you weren't. Because you broke and rebuilt. Because you lost and kept going. Because you failed and chose to rise. So the next time you're staring at the wreckage of something that didn't work, don't run from it. Don't numb it. Sit with it. Feel it. Learn from it. Let it speak. And when you've heard its lesson, get up. Try again. Not out of desperation, but out of devotion to your journey. You are not your failures. You are who you become because of them. You are wiser, stronger, braver, and more honest than you were before. You have scars? Yes. But those scars are proof that you showed up, that you lived, that you cared, that you dared. The only real failure is giving up. The only true loss is never trying. Every other mistake, every setback, every heartbreak, it's part of the process, part of the becoming. So, here's what I'll leave you with. Failure is not a dead end. It's a detour to something greater. It's a mirror, a map, a match that lights a new fire. It's your companion on the road to success, not your enemy. Embrace it, learn from it, let it shape you. And whatever you do, don't stop. Because your comeback story is still being written. And trust me, it's going to be worth it.